Welcome back to the Omnigamers Club podcast, the podcast for gaming on all platforms, including reading the manual for your car while waiting for the oil to be changed. I am Mark USA, and today we have a special guest subbing yet again for Daniel while he's away on vacation. We have repeat guest Denis Ryan back. Hello, Denis Ryan. Welcome.
Hello, thank you very much. It's been good. It's good to be back here.
Yeah, we were just reminiscing that you are the most frequent repeat guest on the show this is your third appearance now, I believe. So we're happy to have you back. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm from born and raised in Ireland. Discovered sort of modern board games in university, and I moved to Canada. Started getting into the community over here, becoming good friends. Started helping to run some meetups. Attended a lot of local conventions. I started going to all the local conventions. And just, I love being part of the community, and I love supporting and growing the community wherever I can. And then in terms of games, I sort of favor the lighter side of things. Like an hour and a half is sort of like the max I can kind of focus my attention on for a game. And more recently, I've been playing a lot of, as we'll talk about a little bit later, but a lot of very family-weight games because I have two kids who are big into who I'm making sure become big into board games as gently as I can. And then one other thing is, some of you who know me already will know that I do have Parkinson's, which might surprise you that one of my favorite genres of board game is actually dexterity games. Um, Several of my friends find this absolutely hilarious, and I have to admit, so do I. But I do adore dexterity games.
Well, I wonder, I don't know, some circles, like the Olympics is happening right now, and some might say maybe you have a little bit of edge, perhaps. These governing bodies, they have some strange concept about what's too advantageous. I am very, of course, happy to have you on. I know you're a big part of the Vancouver board game scene. And you are also, you are employed by one of our friendly local game stores, Raincity Games.
Yeah, I joined it for 3 months to cover some summer vacations last summer, and I've now been there well over a year.
Well, there you are.
No plan, and they're gonna have to drive me out the door, kicking and screaming.
Well, you're much appreciated. You have the inside knowledge, and we'll be talking about Raincity Games a little bit later when I talk about one of my recent experiences. But that's a great intro. So I would be remiss if I didn't explain that this is Omnigamers Club. We do what you've been playing recently. We call the playlist. That's what tonight's going to be. Let's start us off with a bit of news. So the sad story is that about a week or two ago, Bungie, the publisher behind very famous games like the original creators of Halo, the creators of Marathon and the re-release, and then more recently of Destiny and Destiny 2 fame, they had a number of layoffs, and we are always sad to see that when that happens. This has been a sad year of many big layoffs at game developers and publishers, and we're just barely halfway through the year, so that's never good to see.
It's been pretty awful. I mean, the numbers of people who are being let go and the reasons for why they're being let go, by the studios is just absolutely appalling.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. This is the sad thing about the video game and the board game industry is, unfortunately, the people that make these beautiful things, a lot of the times they're not just happy-go-lucky individual creators. They're, corporate conglomerates, and sadly they will just let people go to, fix a number on the bottom line. So anyways,
it's one of the problems with the end always perfect. So.
Right. Yeah, we got to find a better way, but we're not going to solve it in tonight's episode, unfortunately.
That's why we have unions, which brings us to the next point.
Exactly. So you teed me up very well there. Okay, so the positive news is that other companies out there are turning around and unionizing, and we love to point that out. So shout out that Bethesda Game Studios, who happens to be a child company of parent Microsoft, who did a huge round of layoffs recently. their workers have unionized. So more than 200 workers have formed a union at Bethesda Game Studios. They, of course, put out blockbusters like Fallout
Mm.
and Elder Scrolls and the latest Starfield. So we love to see companies unionize. And I think a little while before, it was Ubisoft, one of their studios, maybe Montreal, unionized as well. So we love to see
Okay.
that. So I'll shout it from the rooftops anytime that happy news happens. Go for it.
Unfortunately, swinging the pendulum right back the other way, as
Oh,
just only a few days ago, Game Informer magazine was officially shut down
you're right.
after 33 years in business, and many of the staff discovered this when I guess one of the heads of the company tweeted the official announcement. So
Uh,
that's lovely.
that's that's really sad. And I heard that the rest of the company who was working just got called into a mass meeting on Friday, and Monday, sorry, you don't have a job. So that's pretty bad. It's also the case that some might say, wow, were they still making Game Informer? And they were. They carried it at my local library, and it's actually a really well put together production.
Yeah, it's funny. I was literally over the summer with my kids and doing camps and stuff. I was hanging out in my local library just because it was cooler than being anywhere else in the world
Yeah.
at the moment. But I was Game Informer was on the shelves. Yeah, I was looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're olds, so remember video game magazines. That was the only way you would get news about video games back in the day.
Sorry, you discovered all those cheat codes and all those hidden secrets and stuff.
Right. Now you got power with Nintendo Power, right?
Yeah,
Well, unfortunately, it's a different world out there, so I guess print media is hard to keep up.
it
Um,
is.
so that was sad news as well. So thanks for bringing that up. That is
Yeah,
important
the wonderful YouTube video. I can't remember, I don't even know what the channel is, but some of this old staff were brought in and they got to go around I guess the packed up offices. They packed up all the offices and then just moved it to another location
Hmm.
um, temporarily. And it was just it's about a 30-minute video, but it's like these huge statues of like Master Chief or characters of all sorts of video games. They went through like boxes of like apparently they had a room in the office that was just every single copy of every game they'd ever received for review purposes
Oh wow.
shelved on the wall. So like hundreds and hundreds of games going back like I said, 33 years. And
Yeah.
they're all just in like folder box and they're going through them and they found like sealed DS or sealed Game Boy games.
Yeah.
And they found uh, the dev kit edition of the PlayStation 2 that they were sent because it was the only way they could play the very first games before they came out or whatever.
Right. You didn't have
And it
internet
was just
codes back then to
nothing.
download,
Yeah.
previews. No, that's brilliant. Like that makes me think of like the Indiana Jones warehouse, at the end of
That's
Indy.
exactly.
They have these massive,
It's really, and we don't know what's going to happen
such
to all that
history.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And they did point out that apparently the room of games is not owned by the company. They're actually owned by the people who worked in the company. There's something
Hmm.
I'm not exactly sure what details are. So hopefully at least they might rescue them. We'll see. But
Yeah, maybe like we talk about, I mean, one of the topics we also like to champion at Omnigamers Club is game preservation.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I would only hope that some place would collect those pieces of history, the ephemera of video games over all the years, and collect it together, kind of like how there are a lot of like pinball museums, like
And,
the big one in Las Vegas that they moved to a much larger space.
mhm.
Like I love to see that sort of thing. If they can do that with video games
Yeah,
and memorabilia, that would be amazing.
yeah. NoClip is a YouTube channel that's currently digitizing thousands and thousands of hours of physical media from E3 and from various conferences throughout the decades. And prior to this, the only copies we had of this media was like 320 like 320 resolution like
Yeah.
horrible YouTube videos, and then they're finding like full like
Postage stamp size videos, right?
unbelievable, and then
Yeah.
they're going through and find like they found the original what is it you know the crab was it hit it in the sweet spot or whatever, all those memes, or they found the actual original clip or whatever in full HD,
Wow.
which we haven't had for years. So hopefully something like that will happen. And the Game Informer staff were very worried that all the stuff would be auctioned off just as like lots and just
Right.
like dumped her basically or
For a
whatever. So
pittance, yeah.
exactly.
All right. Well, I thankfully there are still people that care. So let's
Yeah.
hope for the best for that. All right. So with a bit of that sad news, let's talk about hopefully more happier news. The games that we've been playing. I'm going to quickly go through a few video games. I know that you brought a number of board games, so we'll definitely take the time to talk through all of those. There was a re-release of something that I really wanted to play. So they re-released for the Nintendo Switch Advance Wars 1 and 2, and they've called it Reboot Camp.
Mhm.
So obviously this is a remake of the old DS games, which I loved, Advance Wars 1 and 2, a lot of history there, beautiful artwork. And this is from, I believe, I should have noted this, but I think it's Intelligent Systems. So it's the people that do Fire Emblem, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So Fire Emblem is obviously huge. It's got a big following with newer players, but Advance Wars kind of went away. And this, I don't know what to say about it. It's a very proficient remake. I like to see the new artwork. I mean, I don't know. This is the thing I feel about remakes is a lot of times I feel like I'm glad that it's there for game preservation purposes, but
Mhm.
it's not like the 3D touched up art is better than the pixel art. If you can still access the old game, it's just as good in the old
Especially when you're talking about pixel
setting.
art, because like
Yeah.
there's something about 3D polygon art or games that do age very, very badly.
Yeah.
But pixel art just it's got like this it's got this like artistry to it, like getting like these characters into like the absolute minimum amount of data.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's distilled, right? It's just like the essence of beauty, and obviously, I don't think that the new 3D art adds anything necessarily new. The animated feature art of the main characters, right? So there's a little chibi units on the ground, whatever. That's fine, but the main character art looks fantastic. It's been remastered. It looks really the kind of hand animated now,
Yeah.
and so that's really nice. Also, for the 3D art in the background, like they've done actually a little bit of improvement, like throwing in a little bit of diversity there. It's not just random light-skinned soldiers. Like there's some
Yeah.
men and women, and there's different body types, and there's different skin tones. So like in that sense, they are, I guess, broadening horizons, improving some things there. So I would say overall, good thing that that's there. More people will get to play it. The games play as beautifully as they did before. But if you already have those old games, it's not doing anything new for you. Yeah.
Um, Advance Wars 2 was one of the games that I brought with me when I moved to Canada and played like during that transitional period of
Nice.
just having something small and handheld. Again,
Yeah.
back in the days when handheld consoles were still only Nintendo's thing.
Yeah, I don't understand why like Advance Wars hasn't had a reboot like Fire Emblem has,
Yeah.
because it's so bite-sized. Like it was doing bite-sized maps before Fire Emblem was, I feel like. The resolution of those maps could fit so well on a mobile screen. I don't know why they don't do it in a little bit more fresher, modern package. I'm sure it could be a hit. Maybe just kind of, it's very like Saturday morning cartoon, right?
Very, yeah, yeah,
It's even less kind of cognizant of what is war than even GI Joe is.
absolutely. Yeah,
It's even
very much
more
so.
cartoony. But it's the gameplay is where it's at. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any games? I know you didn't write anything down, but are there any video games that you're playing?
Honestly, there really isn't. I haven't really played video games. Well, actually, almost. Yeah, there really isn't. Most of the video gaming in my house is done by my two kids. I guess the only video game I have been playing quite a lot of is on this thing here.
Oh yeah,
So I've been enjoying my Meta Quest on and off. It's a very seasonal thing. I play it now and again. But the
yeah.
one game that I will that there's a game called Walkabout Mini Golf. So it's a mini golf
Mm.
uh, VR game.
Yeah.
Um, every 6 weeks or so, they release a new course, and I will purchase and download every new course as soon as they release it, um, and then and me and one of my mates always meet up within the first 2 or 3 days, virtually online, and play mini golf. Play through the whole course. There's a normal mode and a night mode, or a more difficult mode. And we'll play through the whole 36 holes together, and just really enjoy and hang out and just chat as well, which is wonderful.
That's really nice. Is this one of your friends that's like lives a bit of a distance from you, so virtual is good that way?
Actually, no, he actually lives here in Vancouver as well, which is
Oh,
wonderful. But
funny.
we
Yeah.
don't get to hang out very often at all. And it also is on for a good time. So,
Yeah. No,
but
that's
it's really really good fun. One thing I will say
yeah.
about the newest course is based on Wallace and Gromit, so it's pretty cool
Ah.
getting to explore Wallace's house and see all the gags and references to Wallace and Gromit and claymation animations, which I grew up watching as a kid from a very early age.
That is really cool. Yeah, I have a MetaQuest as well, and like you, I don't play it like steadily, but I did put it back on recently, and I have Walkabout mini golf. It is quite cool.
Huh. Let's see, it's yeah.
I haven't had the opportunity to like really sink into a kind of a social game, which I think
Mm-hmm.
would be like the next
Yeah,
frontier, right? Like not there's not enough adoption among the general populace that
exactly.
those types of social games can really kick off, except amongst like really small groups like you and your friends. Sounds like you have that. I know you're a big fan of Demeo, right?
Yeah,
The
I was just about
RPG.
to mention that. Yeah, which so Demeo is VR like tabletop minis or like board game. It's more like kind of Hero Quest, or it's trying to
Right.
mimic the Hero Quest thing. So you literally pick up the mini and moving it across, and when you want to roll the dice, you grab the dice and roll it on the board or whatever. But Demeo is available on Steam, PlayStation VR, Quest, um, like all of those, pretty much any VR device at all. But also available on like flat screen on like just PlayStation 5, on just Steam flat screen, and even now on iPad. So you can now play it on like on an iPad, and it's completely cross compatible across all those devices.
Mm.
So I have had a lot of fun playing Demio with one of us in the VR headset and somebody else on PC here in like sitting side by side and discussing what to do what we're playing. So
I didn't realize they were cross-platform,
yeah.
cross-play. That's great to hear because, meeting up to play, especially tabletop RPGs,
Mhm.
which I am a big fan of, is hard. It's hard to do. People get sick. That's what VTTs are used for, sure. But I feel like the VR would give it that extra level of immersion that would make it maybe even, I wouldn't say superior, but allow you to do more than you can at a physical table space, like do the virtual effects and have very, very elaborate
Exactly.
terrain and things like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
it's a
Uh,
definitely a whole new world out there.
yeah. And they released Demio incrementally over like a year or two or whatever. So they release a new kind of campaign or adventure every so many months. Finishing up, with, I think the fifth one. I think there's five of them altogether. But the final one is just like exquisite. And at one point, I was playing with some friends, and I just started screaming. I just started like, "Oh my god! Oh my god!" I was screaming, and my friends were like, "What are you screaming at?" And I don't want to spoil it, but if you played it, you'll know what I mean. But
Oh
I was
wow.
explaining what I'd just seen, and all my friends were like, "No, no, like that didn't happen." And then 5 minutes later, all my friends were like, "Oh my god! Oh my god!"
Wow.
It's an magic experience.
Must be seen to be believed.
Very much so, yeah.
Now, can you play those campaigns again? Like, is it
Yeah,
possible
I
or?
absolutely am.
Mm,
Like campaign, and so within the campaigns, each campaign has two maps, two sort of level dungeon crawler maps, and then the final boss map, which is generally a little bit smaller and generally just like hit the boss and go. But for each of those two initial floors, there's like two or maybe three variants, like layout variants or whatever, which just allows for a lot of replayability. And then even just replaying it anyways, depending on what classes each person was playing as in the players, and there's like
Right.
I think up to 7 or maybe 9 classes now or whatever. There's quite a few classes. So depending on the layout or the makeup of your team, how you approach each and every map is going to be wildly different. I've sunk easily well over 100 hours into this game and into Demeo. I just
Wow.
love playing it. It's one of the few games where I jump into public groups, and because of the role playing aspect and role playing feel and like that minish thing, I find that the community in it is very open and very inviting and very supportive. So
Well, you love to hear it. That sounds like it sounds offering a lot of positive things.
yeah, very much so.
Uh, well, we wish the game success, and once again, that's Demeo,
EO.
Demeo. Right. So catch it on one of those platforms out there. I'm just going to briefly mention the next couple of games that I played. Tried out the newest Assassin's Creed game, Mirage, because the new follow-up is coming out fairly
Mm-hmm.
soon. I wanted to try out Mirage, and I gotta say, I'm enjoying it so far. It's a return to the Middle Eastern setting, which, of course, it started off Assassin's Creed before it went globetrotting around the world. And it's a really nice return to form. It's really kind of laser focused on the one character and their story, their personal story. And the scope just seems tighter. It seems much more focused and less kind of like the kitchen sink approach. Very much kind of the opposite of the just go out there and have all those interest points on the map kind of
Yeah.
Ubisoft design. So I'm enjoying that so far. But I'm not very far in, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
The
The
new
other,
one is the one in Jap or what like the upcoming one is the Japanese one, which is funny because
yeah,
like from the day that like Assassin's Creed One released, everybody was like, oh, this would be such a cool game for a ninja game, and like,
gotta
it's
have
taken them a
ninjas.
while
Yeah,
before they decided to, which hopefully means that they've been working on it for a long time and hopefully it'll be amazing.
hopefully, yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic about. I think it's called Shadows, the one setting the
Yeah.
forthcoming one set in Japan, and I know that there's been some controversy so far. I think like mostly coming out of Japan, basically about their feeling a little bit kind of. I've listened to some Japanese language podcasts talking about it, so I have a bit of a different perspective on it. Basically, I'm hearing from native Japanese people saying that they feel a little bit robbed that they're the protagonist, who is, I think it's clear from the trailers, is Yasuke, who is a real world character
Hmm.
of African origin, who was said to be, there are historical records about this, the only non-Japanese samurai at the time, and an African samurai at that, who was in the employ of Oda Nobunaga. So his life is kind of like, he's kind of like Davy Crockett or something, but even more like his life is myth and history, and so much woven into it. And basically, a lot of native Japanese are saying, well, why can't we have a Japanese protagonist? And then Ubisoft is saying, you do. You have the other protagonist, the female ninja protagonist. But I think mostly the complaints are coming from Japanese dudes who are saying, why isn't there a Japanese dude being the lead of an Assassin's Creed? And
Yeah.
that's, I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. If that's what they wanted, I guess this isn't the game for them. Maybe they should play one of the dozens of other Japanese samurai games that exist. You know?
Exactly. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll wait to see. Cautiously optimistic. The other game I've been playing a little bit is called Flintlock. It's a newer game that's on Xbox Game Pass and other platforms as well. And this game's been interesting. It's a Souls like, but a Souls light, I guess. It's not quite as oppressively difficult as some of the other Souls likes out there. It's actually pretty casual, to be honest. And I've been enjoying it for that reason. It's not asking too much of me, which is kind of where I'm at. I'm not that skilled. Let's be honest. So it's kind of hitting me where I like. And I believe it comes from a New Zealand based developer. So I was briefly hearing some interviews with them, and they have like a lot of kind of New Zealand cultural touch points. It's a fantasy world, but like a lot of the flora and
Yeah.
fauna and cultural representation, names, um, just general culture comes from New Zealand culture. That part of it was an interest to me. it's a part of the world that's not represented a lot in video games, certainly. So and it looks really slick. It's a little bit gray brown at times, but lots of games are. So, what can you say? But I'm enjoying it so far. All right, so that's it for video games. Let's move on to board games, shall we? And this is your chance to take center stage here, Dennis, because I haven't been playing a lot. So, what
Yeah.
game would you like to start with?
So before we start this, obviously we had a little bit of a note, and pretty much all my notes are just board games. So with my kids off school for the summer, I was like, we are not playing Minecraft for the entire summer break. So I wanted to make sure we got lots of fun board games in to for the family and just to exercise that part of the brain. So I have quite a few new ones. But let's start with one that a lot of people were talking about recently because it was nominated for Spiel Des Jahres. This is one of our new favorites, Captain Flip. We
and
love this game.
for the benefit of the audience listeners, audio only listeners, you have visual aids with you.
Yes.
You're showing the box on screen. I love to see that. You've come well prepared.
The joy of board games is that I can grab them off the shelf before we start. So yeah, I have Captain Flip here. It's a wonderful game. It's pirate themed, so it was an easy sell for my kids. I don't have to worry about trying to get them hooked on an interesting game with maybe a dull theme. Everybody loves pirates. It's also very cute art, very cute art. It unfortunately lost out to the Spiel des Jahres to
Sky Team. Is that
Sky
right?
Team. Yes, that's correct. I keep saying Sky Captain when I'm talking about this game, and Flip Team for some reason. I just got two of them totally mixed up again.
I think there was a movie called Sky Captain in the
Sky Captain
World of Tomorrow.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Very Rocketeer, which I'm a huge fan of.
Nice.
But yeah, to be honest, as much as I love Captain Flip, I understand that Sky Team is a noble winner. I just would have voted for Captain Flip. Yeah, it's a wonderful game. Really enjoy it. Very simple mechanics. Kids got it very easily. There's no hidden information. It's a bag game. You reach into the bag, you pull out a token, you open your hand and show everybody, and then you can either add that character to your pirate ship, or you can choose to flip it to see what's on the other side. Once you flip it, you can't go back. So when I was teaching the kids, there was no I didn't have to teach them kind of they didn't have to remember anything. They could just reach into the bag, open their hand, and show me what they had in their hand, and then I could explain what that character did at that moment, which is great.
Nice.
So it was a wonderful, easy game to play, and they loved it. And my son asked for it all the time to play every evening. So that's the first one.
Love it. I got to say also that you're definitely beating me on the Dad of the Year rankings because I don't know. I guess I'm too lazy. Like my kids, they're at very different places right now. One of them just holes up in their room and is just on devices all the time, and been trying to keep them away from that, but it just there's nothing doing. And then the other one just wants to watch TV or hang with friends.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't want to sound like I'm doing this everything. I would love to be doing this every single day, believe me.
Yeah.
But for example, I was at work today, and I know my kids were pretty much on devices most of the day. And right now, and the devices still before bedtime. But I try. And especially on the days where I'm off for the whole day, it just drives me nuts when I see them on. But even if I can just get an hour playing.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. It's just interject it where you can.
Exactly.
It's like getting your vegetables in.
Yeah, that's a struggle as well. Okay, so going back to the ninjas, then my next game is actually even newer than Captain Flip, at least to us. We love it this as well. This is called Shadow Ninjas. So Shadow Ninjas is a really cute game where there are 4 colorful ninja characters, all attempting to eat the koi fish from a garden.
And they are cat ninjas, by the way, which the audio listeners won't see.
And then there are little, I think, Shiba Inu.
Nice.
So this intrigued me as soon as I heard about it. It's a hidden movement game. A hidden movement game for kids, right? So some of you might be aware of some hidden movie games such as Sniper Elite, the board game, our local game designer Mind Management from
Right.
Jay Cormier
Jay Cormier. Yep.
is a hidden movement game. Uh, One of the very first ones I played was from Legend of the Five Rings card game called Ninja. It was just a hidden movement game. Um, I never thought of it as a genre for kids to play because one player is generally playing by themselves on a little board while
Right.
everybody else is playing on a map, which is very unusual. But this game, the way this game does it is that basically one player plays the guard dogs, and then everybody else plays the ninja cats. But they're all acrylic tokens, and the ninja cats have a shadow ninja on the back. But there's also a whole bunch of other tokens that are only shadow ninjas on both sides.
Hmm.
So at the start of the game, the guard dog player will close their eyes or turn their back or whatever, and then the ninja players will lay out all of their tokens on their side of the board, all with the shadows facing up. And then we'll take turns rolling dice and assigning dice. The guard player has 2 dice and just assigns it to each of his guard dogs. But then the ninja players will roll their dice, but they can assign it to any of the shadows. Now they could move a friend shadow, or sorry, a friend's ninja. They could move their own ninja. They could just move a shadow character, whatever they want to do. And they're rushing up through the board as quickly as possible. And if a guard dog ever gets in line of sight of a ninja acrylic marker, they get to flip that marker over. If they reveal a shadow, nothing happens. It's a shadow. They have to remember that that's a shadow. If they reveal a ninja, they capture that ninja, and that ninja's now into the game. Yeah, and that's it. And so you're all of them moving up the board. And as you're moving up the board, even the ninja I saw a minute ago, I forgot which one played. I forgot which one played. So it's a really fun, silly game. And I love playing it. And officially, the ninja characters are supposed to be playing against each other as well. In that, like, if your ninja character gets into the koi pond, you win, even if I'm the one who moves it in, thinking that I was moving one of my own guys. But my kids just gang up on me and help work together to get any one of the ninjas across the line.
Well, that is one thing that kids love is they love to trick or keep secrets from their parents as
Yeah,
well. So I could see that working really well. Kudos to your
yeah,
kids for showing some good teamwork there.
yeah. They get a great they get a great thrill out of one upping dad and getting that. But it is also hilarious when they get to the koi pond and they're like, yes, and they flip it over and they're like, it's a shadow, and then they look at the rest of the board and they're like, who's my ninja?
So even they forget.
Yeah, it's a beautiful game, plays really fast, really nice components. I don't even know if it's by. It's by Hedrick Winks. Hedrick Winks and Edseth Media is the publisher. Yeah, really nice. Really love it.
And how long would you
Um,
say a session is? How long would you say a game runs?
like 20 minutes, half an hour
Yeah,
maybe,
it's
for
not
both
bad
of
at
those.
all.
For Skype's Captain Flip or Shadow Ninjas are both for 20 minutes, which is a sweet spot.
Very nice, short and
Um,
sweet.
so, will I go on one more?
Yeah, keep going. Bring it on.
Okay, so this one is actually a game that came out of Japan. It was originally a card game called Map. And
Ah, yeah.
as we mentioned early on, I work in a board game store in Raincity. I've had several customers come and ask me if we could get Map. We can't, and it doesn't exist outside of Japan. But it did get reprinted as a game called Trio, and I finally found who was supplying it here. So yeah, we have this game Trio. Really, really fun, fast game. Again, great for the kids. I think it says 7+ on the cover. Honestly, my 6-year-old had absolutely zero issue dealing with it. All it is a deck of cards, 36 cards, 1 to 12, 3 times. Depending on the number of players, you'll deal a number of cards to each player, and then the rest of the cards will go face down, kind of in a shared center board. And you're looking to find all three of each of those numbers. Okay, so like the 3 1s, 3 2s, whatever it is. But the only thing you can ask another player is what their to show me their highest card or show me their lowest card. So I might say to you, Mike, show me your lowest card, and you put down a 1. So you show everything. So you put down one, and then I'm looking at my hand, and I've got the other one, and I say, Daniel, show me your lowest card. And Daniel plays 3. I didn't get set, but we pick them all back up again. And then it comes to, let's say it's your turn, and you say, Dennis, show me your lowest card. And I put down my 1, and then you say, me, show me my lowest card, my own lowest card, and you'll put down your 1. And then you say, me, show me my other lowest card. And it turns out you had both those other ones. And now you have all 3 of those, and that's the set. You win the game by getting 3 sets, or any player who gets the 7, because the 7 is like in the middle, and because you can only ask smaller or higher, it's hard to get to that middle 7, right? And you can also pick from the middle table. Like I say, Daniel, show me your highest card. Mark, show me your highest card. And you're like, middle of the table, and flip it over. And if I get all 3, great. If I don't, maybe I flip back over. Really fast, really fun, and I can see why we had a lot of people asking about it, and why it's very popular, and why it's showing up on a lot of YouTube videos. When I looked around for it, yeah, and it's really gorgeous. I do love the very simple card art. Yeah, and I love they put so the cards are really nice. They're just very brightly colored, and then because the 7s are your specials, the 7 is just kind of like a gold foil. They're really nice. But my kids ask to play this every night, almost.
Wow, that's so cool to hear. Yeah, I had no idea that Nana was going under a different name in English. So that's
Yeah,
awesome that you carry it at Raincity Games. Another plug for a
yeah.
friendly local game store. Funny thing about Nana is, well, first of all, Nana means 7. So the game is called 7 in Japan. So that's what Nana means. So for good reason, sounds like, as far as the game rules go. And I was mentioning that I've been listening to some Japanese language podcasts because I'm just trying to work on my Japanese language skills. I'll have to find the name of it specifically, but it features the designer of Nana.
Wow.
And he was going on about how he went to Paris, France recently. And I was like, why is this guy talking about his trip to France? And he said he won the Palme d'Or, which is their Game of the
Yeah.
Year award. And I was like, oh, this guy won a French game design award? And it turns out that he's the designer of Nana. So I've been listening to the designer of Nana before I even knew what the game was. And then so I've heard more and more about
And you
it.
won it for Nana?
I believe he did. Or maybe he won it for a different
Awesome.
game, but he won
It's
that.
fantastic. I mean,
So
I
it's
can
an
see
award
why.
winner.
It's a wonderful, wonderful game. The English adaptation is by a company called, I think, Randolph. Sorry, I looked at his name. Kaya Miano?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Kaya Miano. And then apparently Randolph is the English reprint publisher. Yeah, really fun.
Very cool. I will definitely be checking that out. All right, bring on the more games, more family games.
Spotted is one of the first games my son just fell in love with. It's called Dobble in the UK, in case you have any UK
Right.
listeners. Love that game. The week my son turned 4, so I used to play with my daughter all the time, but we just give my son a card, so he was just involved in the same way that you give him an unplugged controller when you're playing video games.
Right.
Uh, but the week he turned 4, so he used to play with it, and he'd be like, tree, and we were like, no, you don't have a tree, and lips, and we're like, no, you don't have a lips, and then literally the week he turned 4, he was like, pen, and we're like, no, you don't have a, oh yeah, you do have a pen. Man, yeah, you do. And he just practiced. Like, he went from like understanding how the game works, but not understanding how to win, to just instantly practicing. And now we can't beat him. So, yeah.
It's the reflexes of youth, right? It's like the curse.
Very much so. Yeah.
You got the age and experience, but they got the reflexes.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I definitely need my coffees in the morning before I can have a chance. And that also brings me to the other very quick one that I want to show is a game called Set. Do you know this game,
Okay.
Mark?
I've heard of it, but I don't know how to play it. No.
Honestly, this is one of my favorite games. I used to play when I used to work with school age program kids. It is a bit of a mental gymnastics or mental dexterity game. Essentially, for every card in the deck has 4 attributes. You have a color, a shape, a number, and a shading. So in this case, green, 3, pale or oval, and solid. Here we go. So let's just quickly look through. Here we go, like red, 1, diamond, clear. Right? Um, so you lay out 12 cards on the table, and then for each of those attributes individually, they they must either be all the same or all different. Right. So a set could be, one, one, two, and three of the red diamond, the
Right.
red clear diamond,
Hmm.
or one, two, and three of diamonds in red, green, or purple,
Hmm.
clear, 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 or whatever it is, right?
Sure.
It's kind of hard to explain unless but this game is your first game or two. You're kind of staring at the cards, and you just it seems like such a chore to find those sets. We play this kind of every morning for a week, and by the Friday, all of us, like my wife, my two kids, all of us were like just grabbing sets off the table, like trying to one up each other as fast as we could,
Yeah.
and going through the whole deck really fast. It is a game that you will like noticeably see an improvement over the
Huh.
course of just 5 days, and it's wonderful.
So
It's
is
really
it
really good.
literally a speed game then?
It is. I mean, we don't really play for points. We just play through the deck. Hey, well done. So, okay, you're trying to see how fast you succeed. You grab the set. You verify with your opponents, and you fill those spaces with three new cards, and somebody else looks at them with set. You pick those up, and that's it. So it's a speed game, yeah, a bit, but yeah, I guess it is, yeah.
There
Um,
are a certain class of games like you work at a game store like Dutch Blitz, like
yeah.
infamous speed game, and I was
Mhm.
taught that game by like some family friends who I don't consider really to be like gamers, quote unquote.
Yeah,
Like obviously they're smart, successful people, but
yeah,
like gaming's supposed to be my thing. That's what I'm
yeah.
supposed to be knowledgeable about. They introduced it to me, and it was something that their level of speed and dexterity at it was just like instinctual, right? It's like when you see like a samurai sword master is able to slice, the thing out of the air, the acorn in the air or something like
Yeah,
that. It just instantly kind of turned me off of that game because it's like, why would I even want to compete against you
yeah.
when you got it down so fast? But maybe I just didn't give it enough time to warm up to it.
Well, definitely should try to set with your family because you can all grow together.
Nice, nice. Although I bet the kids are just going to embarrass me with their youthful reflexes.
That's what happens in our house too.
But that keeps them playing games, so that's a good thing.
Very much so, yeah. And then speaking of useful reflexes, that brings me to the last game that I really did want to talk about today, our last board game at least. And that goes back to one of my earlier points where I love dexterity games. Uh,
Nice.
this is a very special game in my collection. It is called Hamsterrolle or Hamster
Oh, I
Roulette.
think I've heard of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hamsterrolle with the funny spelling. I'm guessing it's not English.
Yeah, I believe this is a German version or something. I found this in a thrift store here in Vancouver for I think $4. When I opened it, it was very clearly brand new. All of the pieces were in, all of these little pieces were in like it was like baggy, and then there was small little bits of paper in the corner to make sure that the wheel didn't get scuffed inside the box. Um, I picked it up. It's from Zoch Zoch zum Spielen, Zoch,
Hmm.
a company I really enjoy. I've played several other games. I just enjoy their aesthetic and their design philosophy, I guess. So I just picked it up for whatever $4 or whatever it was, and we love it. My kids and I love it. Just before I explain very quickly how it plays, they recently 25th. Oh, sorry, I have the name here. 25th Century Games just did a Kickstarter for a 2024 import collection that includes an English reprint of Hamsterrolle, along with games such as Run Run Run. So we got Run Run, Hamsterrolle. Oh, sorry, what's it? Yeah, just a whole bunch of games. Yeah, but Hamsterrolle is kind of one of their sort of big games that they wanted to bring over to English audience and US audience in general. And I will quickly explain why. It's a very fun game. Obviously, as a dexterity game, basically you've got this huge wheel you put on the table, and then you've got a big cone, and you put that on the base. And then everybody has these sets of colored markers. Like each player has one full set of one color each, and you can put a piece in either the space that the last player played in, or the first or second space ahead, in the direction of the wheel of the ball. You can never
Right.
backwards. So you're constantly
Because
adding pieces.
because it's turning, right? Like
Exactly,
that'll
because it's
keep
just a
things
huge
turning.
wheel. So
Yeah.
the whole thing slowly rotates. Um, and of course then pieces all like start falling out, and then they get precariously balanced, and it is just a hilarious game. And it feels so good when you manage to like slide that piece just on. Sorry, for those of you who are at home, you might not just be aware. It's a huge big wheel, and when I say huge, it's a massive one, and it has all these little black notches like glued on to the inside of the wheel, almost creating little, I don't know, cogs or rivets, or I'm not
Yeah,
sure
it
how you
kind of
describe it.
looks like the inside of like a clock, like the at the 5 minute points.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
and then so you can balance your pieces on those little, or up against those walls or whatever. And it's so much fun, yeah. When somebody like really forces you to like play really far up along the side of the piece, and you just manage to get your piece to stay on, and then the whole thing just you watch as it slowly rolls, and your heart sinks as it just keeps on going, and then all those bits on the back end start to slide off their edge and fall onto the table or whatever.
So what happens when the wheel rolls off the table? Like, is that like Jenga? Is that
Um,
game over?
you can slide the wheel back and centered on the table. But if pieces fall while you're doing that, then you take that penalty as well. You take those pieces into your collection. But we try to keep it, centered on the table as best we can.
Wow, this is sounding like a little bit like Animal Upon Animal, but like
Yes,
extreme.
which is Animal Upon Animal is one of our favorite. Habit Games is one of our favorite companies as well. Absolutely adored. One game that I hadn't mentioned, but now that you've mentioned, I'll give them a quick plug. Is Snail Sprint, one of my kids' first
Ooh,
big board games that they love as well. Games. Snail Sprint is really wonderful in that one of with young kids you need a hook to catch them or whatever.
yeah.
And Snail Sprint's hook is that uh, the snails all have magnets on them, and part of the it's a race, so you're racing around the course. But the box that the game comes in is a tin box, and part of the course is actually on the side of the box.
Oh,
So the
cool.
snails have to run up the side of the box, across the top of the box, and down the other side to complete the race, which is just a wonderful visual aspect and really fun to play with, and a great like I said, a great hook for to get kids like, oh, I want to try this game.
Yeah, that's super smart. I love it. Well, I knew you would bring fun board games to talk about, so that's great to hear.
No, yeah, that's it's definitely my thing.
I love it. Okay, so the last game I'm going to talk about, because you work at Raincity Games, we've talked about Raincity Games. We love Raincity Games. Raincity Games, please sponsor our podcast. We mention you anyway, so it would be nice to get some love, get some love back. But I was at Raincity Games and I attended an event there, which they have. There's like events 3 or 4 or 5 times a week sometimes, right?
Mm.
But this was the Friday night. There's Magic going on, draft, and then there was also a one-shot RPG, tabletop RPG from Out on the Shelves.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, who this was the second event I attended with them. I attended their GM workshop,
Mm-hmm.
lessons for GM workshop that they gave a few weeks ago. I think it was part of like Andrea's Adventures or something like that, like a combo. Anyway, we played a new system to me, an indie RPG that I was very interested in learning about, called Lasers and Feelings. Have you ever played Lasers and Feelings?
I can't say I have. No, I do know that the out on the shelf, the main GM that we have joined us for has a wonderful selection of a wonderfully interesting and diverse and fun games. So I'm really excited to hear about this game.
Yeah, definitely. So the GM was Rachel, and Rachel, she apparently loves these kind of one page RPGs, one page one shots. I think she was calling them,
Mm.
and this definitely lived up to that. She handed me a one page of this and some other game with goats, and we are like, "Which one do you want to do?" And I definitely wanted to try Lasers and Feelings because I like the kind of spacey sci-fi Star Trek feel, and I heard that it was kind of a little bit kooky because it's like lasers plus feelings. And there's some super move. The critical role in this game is called laser feelings, is where you find perfect harmony, the right balance between your laser, which is kind of like the analytical, logical part of your mind, and feelings, which is obviously the heart and intuition. And once you have like laser visions, you do this sort of like mind balance thing where you can achieve great things. So we had this one shot adventure, lasted 3 hours. There was two players, myself, another guy, and then the GM Rachel. And laughs were had. We did ridiculous, illogical things. I think we had to save our drunk captain, who are really badly behaving captain, who like Captain Brannigan or from Futurama or something like that, who was
Yeah.
like inadvertently poisoned. I think the story is Captain Brannigan always gets overcome by something, by some sort of malevolent force, and you, the crew, have to save the day. So we did that. We showed up. We saved the day. I was a five-legged, three-armed alien doctor called Doctor Splot, and I leaned more on the feeling side. So I was more the touchy-feely, good bedside manner. Although I could be a little bit ornery as well if I didn't have patience with my patients. And I was playing with the other player was like a kind of logical engineering type kind of gearhead. So it was great kind of chemistry, great balance
Nice.
there, and just yeah, thumbs up. Great event, great system. I would like to play Lasers and Feelings again. So, Lasers and Feelings from John Harper, I believe, is the
Oh,
designer.
John Harper's
You
amazing.
know
He
John
did
Harper, yeah.
John Harper did Blades in the Dark.
Blades in the Dark, exactly. Blades in the Dark, and a
Green.
few other things as well. I think John Harper is kind of
Yeah.
like a bit of a darling right
Yeah,
now in the
he's a very,
TTRPG
very nice,
space.
very nice guy as well. He's from, I haven't met him myself, but I have friends who work quite well with him, work quite closely with him.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, he's
yeah, John Harper, Blades in the Dark, Aegon, Agon,
Aegon, yeah. Aegon with Sean
Lays,
Nittner.
yeah, Lasers and Feelings, Storm Fury, ton of games. Bunch of them are on itch.io. Go check it out. I'm sure these games can be had for super cheap. I think Lasers and Feelings might be free. It is. It's name your own
I'm sure,
price.
yeah. If it isn't now, it'll be on itch for some bundle for charity. They do amazing stuff for
Yeah,
charities, for
go play it.
organizations all over the world.
Exactly. Go
Yeah,
play it.
Grant Hallis is great at doing amazing one page, one shot RPGs.
Yeah, yeah.
Honey
The
Heist.
the other game we were going to play about something goats was a John Howlett. Did you say
Grant Hallis.
Grant? Yeah, was from him. So yeah, just lots of fun stuff. So I'll just say this: shout out to Raincity Games if you're interested in trying out a one shot. Or I think Raincity does more D&D related stuff typically.
Yeah, typically, but Rachel's Eyes on the Shelf event is weekly. I think every Friday night.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
very,
So
very good.
I
She's
just
a
caught
great
the
GM, and
yeah.
yeah, she's a great GM, and just a lovely diversity of games. So,
Right. Yeah, I definitely wanted to support that because it was a game I'm interested in, and I want well I love playing systems that are different from D&D. No problem
yeah,
if you love D&D, more power
yeah,
to you, but I also like to see what's on the other side of the coin, so to speak there.
yeah.
So kudos to Rain City Games for supporting that. Yeah, and that's really all I wanted to talk about. Any other thoughts before we cap off this episode, Dennis?
No, I think I pretty much covered everything. I will say all this talk of RPGs. it's one aspect of the hobby that I really do miss. I have loved RPGs. I ran several campaigns in my time, but it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time. And especially if, I enjoy campaigns. I enjoy telling stories, long form stories. Um, just at this moment in my life, I'm in a position to really regularly do that. But I look forward to someday getting back into all of that. And I do have too many RPG books that I keep buying, that I keep reading, that I keep promising I'll run at some point. But
That's the thing about RPG books is like if you buy a ton of board games, they take up a lot of space on the shelf. But if you keep buying RPG books, even the physical ones don't take up that much room on a shelf.
no,
Not nearly as many as a Calex. So, and if you buy PDFs like me, then there's an infinite amount of space. So
exactly, yeah.
no one knows how big your problem is. In my case, but you don't have a problem, my friend, because I love playing RPGs. I would like to play some RPGs with you, and we can definitely make something happen because we live close to each other, and you work
Yeah.
at Raincity Games, and they sell fun RPGs. So we must make something happen.
Awesome.
So
Sounds great.
I'll put it out there that we're going to make something happen. And Daniel wants to play too, so we have at least 3.
Great.
All
And
right.
honestly, all I need is 2. I've got a friend who's been running a multi-year James Bond campaign where it's just him as GM and his friend as a British Secret Service spy.
Brilliant. Well, you just
Yeah.
need a team of 1 then, so that's great. I really enjoyed talking about being old, talking about being good dads, and talking about how I don't play enough board games and you do, and that we both want to play more RPGs. It was absolute delight, Dennis. Is there any way people can follow you or what you're working on or know more about, just generally support what you're doing?
I mean, I'm on Twitter. Pretty much that's probably the only social media platform I use under Quaid Rain, QAIDRAYN. Um, honestly, it's not even like I just whatever interests me. So it's not like a board gaming Twitter or whatever. And other than that, I'm involved with I think we mentioned Tournament City Tabletop Convention, which is our own Vancouver-based, locally run convention that gets just bigger and better every year. And we're currently planning for 2025, and I have lots of big ideas because I'm the special events coordinator. So yeah, uh, lots of fun things in the pipelines for that.
Well, that's really cool to hear. Yeah, I obviously you work closely with Daniel about that. Daniel's also involved in
Mm-hmm.
the running of TCTC as well,
Yeah.
so we got good representation there. And I'm not just saying it because I know both of you, but TCTC is a lot of fun, and it's definitely the event in town locally that I will not pass up. I will definitely go to every single time. I had a great time at my last TCTC, this very past one.
Middle of March 2025. I will not announce the date. The dates are officially announced. I just cannot pull them exactly out of my head, but around the middle of the month.
No worries. We'll be reminding people very often, closing up to that date. Okay, great. So, everyone, watch out for TCTC when it comes up in 2025. All right. Well, thanks, Dennis Ryan, for joining on the show again. Number 1 repeat guest of the Omni Gamers Club podcast.
I hope I'll be back for my 4th appearance. Keep going.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen. So, for all who are still stuck around to listen to the very end of the show, please send us your questions, comments. Join the club at the Omni Gamers Club. We're very inviting. We want to know about the games you're playing, if you've been playing the same games we're playing, and if you have suggestions for the future. You can reach us at omnigamers@gmail.com or visit our website at omnigamers.club. Or now you can visit youtube.com and catch our video episodes on there if you have not caught us there yet. And of course, we're on a podcatchers, every podcatcher, all the podcatchers. That's how you're listening to us right now. Or possibly. So I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank Denis Ryan for being a great guest with lots of fun games.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
Absolutely. And for everyone else out there, well, I hope you have a balanced diet of gaming. Goodbye.